Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to talk about that other third-person MOBA again. Predecessor, the spiritual successor / revival of Paragon, has gotten a roadmap for this year. And it looks really promising. It also comes with some more hidden hints that we'll get into. And not only that, you may recall from my previous Predecessor video that I was quite excited for the game but still had some criticisms, and they're already addressing some of those in this update, so that's very promising. Ahoy, my name is Duke Sloth, and today we're talking about the Predecessor roadmap that isn't actually a roadmap in a traditional sense because it doesn't have any dates for anything, except one thing. We can start out with that right away. The early access for Predecessor is coming towards the end of this year. They haven't given us a specific date, they haven't said if they're going to be more stress tests, alphas, betas, whatever before that, but early access towards the end of the year means we won't have to wait forever for the game. Also, if you've seen or played the earlier playtests, then you may be aware that early access in this case will be very relative. Yes, the game will be released in early access, it'll probably be early access on Steam and all that, but even during its stress test, Predecessor had a higher level of polish than many games have on their full launch. So I imagine by the end of the year, this game should feel quite good, even though it'll have an early access label. What strongly underlines this are the announced changes. We go through them in the order of the blog post itself, and just to give you a quick overview first, the changes to the item system, projectiles, player onboarding, audio, camera adjustment, field of view, MMR, there will be a new hero, multiple new heroes probably before launch, there's work being done on a console version, and there's going to be a UI overhaul. Let's get into the details. The first one is the item system. The devs are generally happy with the item system or the baseline for the item system, but they want to, on one hand, adjust the visual side of things. The interface when the HUD is getting redesigned for the shop itself will also be rebuilt, and they also want to do certain changes to the items. We're going to come back to this topic a little later because it's relevant in the HUD section, but what they mention in the blog post is that players enjoyed going above and beyond in augmenting the way they play, with the Galaxy Greaves for example, and they're excited to introduce more of those items. Keep this in mind for now, we'll pick this back up a little bit later. Additionally, they want to change the projectiles of certain characters. They noticed that faster shooting heroes like Murdoch and Drongo felt pretty good, but heroes like Faye and Gideon felt below par, and as such they went back to the drawing board to find areas of improvement. I think this is a great approach. I personally didn't enjoy playing, for example, Sparrow all that much because I just didn't like the feeling of the projectiles, though that may also be something at least partially due to the ping that I was playing on and me generally not liking ranged classes all too much and ranged basic attacks in most games. So I don't know, maybe they will change in a way where I will personally enjoy it as well, maybe not, doesn't really matter that much at the end of the day, but I'm happy that they're taking this feeling component into consideration when it comes to design and balance. Additionally, the Predecessor devs are also talking about a massive upgrade to Howitz's Ultimate, which they couldn't implement previously. We'll have to see what exactly that is. Next, we have the UI overhaul. The UI was something that apparently wasn't touched since the beginning of the game essentially, and here is a little bit of a back and forth comparison. So there are very significant changes in the new UI, especially when it comes to the placement of different elements. It's also been cleaned up a lot. And there are also some more, I guess, subjective changes, like for example the colors of health bars being changed and the cleanliness of that improved and stuff like that, which maybe not everyone will like, but overall I do think the new look already seems cleaner even as a work in progress. It's obviously not finished, there's for example no minimap yet on this one, so there's work to be done. But we can definitely see the approach they're taking here. For example, they're cleaning up the item section a lot. They are putting the ability cooldowns very much in focus. They're moving the health bar a little bit off to the side because you already have it above your character as well. And additional effects like buffs just take up less space. What's interesting is that the devs are pointing out that one of the reasons they're focusing the UI is not only the visual aspect, but also the performance. Currently, the HUD of the game is the heaviest part of it. So they're expecting the game to run smoother for many players once the HUD is changed, even though the performance was quite good already for most players. However, the devs also put a little bit of a sneaky one on us by putting quite a few hints into the screenshot with the UI that we can look at here. Credit for these discoveries goes to Soggybagellover on Reddit. I will link their post down below. One small thing that we can see in the background is that the core has gotten a new model. Not that important, but fun fact. More importantly, the UI is hinting at a bunch of upcoming heroes. If you look at the rosters of the two teams in this match, you will see plenty of characters from Paragon that are currently not in Predecessor yet. Now we obviously have to take this with a grain of salt. This was clearly done on purpose, and it's gonna get people excited, but at the same time it doesn't mean that these characters are now all ready to go or necessarily all confirmed for the game. It is likely that they're eventually gonna fill out at least most of the Paragon roster from what we know so far, so it's not unlikely to expect they will see these characters in the game at some point. But I wouldn't necessarily bank on them being the next ones to be released or be ready before early access or whatever, especially considering the news about the other new hero that we'll still get to. Also, if you look closely at two of our heroes here, you will notice some diamonds next to their portraits. These diamonds are very likely, on one hand, the ultimate, which is the blue diamond, and on the other hand, the hero's blink or flash indicated in yellow. The corresponding UI elements for your own character have the same diamonds above them, which is a very nice visual link to make that easy to understand. So this will always tell you if your teammates' blinks and ultimates are currently available. The last thing that Soggybagellover found is that there are changes to the item slots, which seem to indicate changes to the items overall. Right now there are 3 active and 3 passive item slots, but it seems in this new screenshot we now have 5 passive item slots on the side and 3 active item slots. What you can see regarding the 3 active item slots is that they're highlighted very differently, so it's not going to be 3 of the same types of item. The speculation that Soggybagellover has here is that the first one, the one that you activate with your 1, would be a normal active item, the second one would be an evolved crest, and the third one would be a additional secondary consumable, like for example a health pod or a ward slot. Now, there are clearly things that are open for speculation when it comes to the items, but my overall impression is that this system is a fair bit closer to how SMITE items work, and I do think that is actually a very good step. Copying successful and functioning aspects from your competitor is usually a pretty good idea, so I hope that that's the direction they're going in, so that people are also not too overwhelmed with the amount of consumables and actives and stuff they have to keep track on, because MOBAs have enough of a learning curve as is, and simplifying the aspects that don't need to be super complicated, in my opinion, always a good idea. But wait, there's more. As I mentioned before, the devs also are working on the console version, say it's well underway. Stay tuned for more later this year. Unfortunately, no further details yet. They're also working on improving sound effects and music, which I think the game could definitely use, especially some of the attack sounds could do with some beefing up. One of the things that I personally criticized was the field of view in the camera settings. They're currently adjusting various camera settings to find a sweet spot that all players can enjoy without taking away from the immersive experience. I hope that means that we get at least some level of freedom in terms of field of view, and not that they determine based on each hero how they feel the ideal field of view for that hero would be. The devs are trying to improve the onboarding experience, and they'll be adding more hints, tips and tricks to get players started, as well as ways to try out heroes before jumping into a full 5v5. I am hoping that there will be some form of practice mode. The more fleshed out the better. If I can test things in a practice mode and test DPS and stuff, that is always something I highly value, and I think it's very important for a good game that's meant to be long-term sustainable. Matchmaking rating is briefly touched upon. They're introducing an MMR system to balance matches and keep them fair for all players. We're saving one of the best for last here, which is the new heroes. They're planning to pump away at heroes to ensure that everyone's old favorite returns, but they're also excited to flex their wings with their own heroes. Now the question is flexing their wings a reference to the hero? Possibly, but the codename for the new hero is Huntress. Her description is, this vampire hunter has traveled here for only one reason. Now, typically it's the vampires that have capabilities to have wings and not the vampire hunters. So I'm not quite sure if the wings are just a figure of speech here or if they're actually talking about wings on this character. But either way, this is definitely a new character. In the original Paragon files, there was apparently some information about a Huntress character as well that was never released, but the devs have confirmed that they didn't even know about that. They are working on their own new character. I for one am very excited about this because I really want to see what the designer's potential is here. So far we've only seen them working with heroes that already existed from Paragon, but them bringing out their first own hero will be a very significant milestone. It seems like following that we'll get a mix of previously existing heroes and new heroes in between, which I am very happy with. If you were happy with this video, you know what to do at this point, and if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you get notified of upcoming Predecessor videos. Obviously, we'll keep you updated on whatever comes out in the future because I am really looking forward to this game. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you for the next one soon. Duke Sloth, out.